Hello and welcome to week 4 of Accounting for 25. This is Wendy Finn. Today we are going to review quiz 3, take a look at the chapter 3 problems number 1, 4, and 11, and then cover a few other items. All right, so digging into the quiz here. Which of the following situations is not a segregation of duties violation? The treasurer has the authority to sign checks, but gives the signature block to the assistant treasurer to run the check signing machine. So, not a segregation of duties violation because there is a segregation of duties there. The underlying assumption of reasonable assurance regarding implementation of internal controls means that implementation of the control procedure should not have a significant adverse effect on efficiency or profitability. Straightforward definition there. Which of the following is often called a compensating control? That would be supervision. Again, which of the following is often called a compensating control? Recalculating an amount to ensure its accuracy. The controls in a computerized system are classified as input, processing, output, storage, and control. All right, so take a look at those questions, compare them to what you have in the book there. If you have any questions thereafter, please do reach out to me via email. And if you ask a question, I will most likely send a response back to the entire class. So please don't hesitate to ask questions if you're not, sure of why an answer was correct there. Okay, chapter 3 problems. This is problem number 1. This is an example of conflict of interest. Okay, we're talking about conflict of interest here. Controls used to prevent or detect this fraud include: the home improvements company should establish a formal policy stating its position on business transactions with employees. If such transactions are to be permitted, they should be formally and explicitly declared by the employees and approved by management prior to any transactions. Policies are very important. You can't expect your employees or your staff to know your policies, your procedures, your expectations if they're never provided to those folks. So formally documented policies and procedures are very important to get everybody on the same page and have a clear understanding on what the expectations are. The organization should establish a valid vendor file, which is a list of approved suppliers. No transactions are to be permitted with suppliers that are not on the list without formal management approval. That's a great place for segregation of duties. You only make payments to valid approved vendors. Somebody other than people with the ability to make payments should be the only ones with access to add vendors to that file. Then lastly, independent verification of transactions through management reports could be used to identify unusual business patterns and material changes in accounts. For example, a report could summarize transaction volumes to vendors and analyze relevant financial ratios, such as cost of sales to sales across periods. All right, like how I threw that in, for example, very important part of your response. So again, this is the text response, aside from the example. I did not grade you guys' papers one-to-one against this response. I just wanted you to have the opportunity to see the textbook response and my example. So there as well, let me know if you have any questions. All right, problem number 4. The following two tasks need to be separated: having the responsibility for writing off bad debts and reconciling accounts receivable with the general ledger control account assets creates the potential for fraudulent behavior if not segregated. So really, whenever you have somebody with the ability to perform a transaction, such as writing off a bad debt, you don't want those individuals being involved in the reconciliation. So the reconciliation is again one of those compensating controls. If fraud were to occur, or even if errors were to occur in the process of writing off bad debts or processing payments or whatnot, you want those to be found in the bank reconciliation, and you don't want those to be covered up. Might be trying to cover up fraud, or it might be that the person doesn't want others to see that they had made errors in the processing. So again, those two items really need to be segregated. If there's an instance where tasks are independent of each other, obviously no need to segregate those. So that's number B there. C, in neither case does the employee have access to the assets, therefore no danger exists. D, these two tasks do not need to be separated since the two tasks are independent of one another. So again, similar to B there, if the tasks are not related, no need to segregate the items. And then E, these tasks should be separated. The employee records the transaction and has access to the assets. To allow the employee to verify the accuracy of the records would allow him or her to cover up any money embezzled by doctoring the bank reconciliation. So again, similar to A, if you're doing a transaction, you shouldn't be reconciling those accounts. Okay. So hit pause here if you didn't happen to have the book out to see what A, B, C, D, and E were, and just run through those one more time. I'm sorry, I should have had you do that before I went through the answers. Okay, problem 11. You might want to blow this up on your side a little bit, but I did want you to see the book response. Here, I know I've been hounding you guys on using flowcharting software. This is why. This is really hard to put together in Word or PowerPoint. Visio, SmartDraw, Gliffy, easiest, not required. You guys probably all have Excel, I would assume, and Excel does have flow charting symbols, so you're welcome to use those. It is the easiest after actual flow charting software. So again, the flow charting software is not required, but it'll make it a lot easier for you. Word and PowerPoint at this level of flow, pretty much impossible. Well, I guess not impossible if you have a month, but I know you guys do not have that sort of time. So if you have any questions on this, I know it's a little bit hard to read. I really just want you guys to get the gist of it. Let me know. I can give you more information on any of those fields that you can't read. Okay. Again, if you don't have your book open, hit pause here and grab it. Problem number 11, the following segregation of functions problems exists. That's hard to read. And I have been teaching this course for years now and still don't know how to properly say Merchandisness. So I'm going to just kind of glaze over that. Merchandisness is the warehouse manager, asset custody, and is responsible for updating the inventory subsidiary ledger record keeping. So that's number 1, segregation of duties issue. Number 2, merchandisness determines what should be ordered, which is the authorization, and places the order, which is the transaction processing. See, the following, I'm not sure how my numbering came into play here, I apologize, but the following frauds could result from these control weaknesses. Kickback fraud. Since merchandisness selects the supplier and also places the order, he could order inventory that is not needed or that is above market price from a supplier with whom he has a personal fraudulent arrangement. In exchange, the supplier pays a kickback to the warehouse manager. Vendor fraud, where candidness authorizes, orders, and receives the goods. He could establish himself as a vendor and process fraudulent transactions. And then last, theft of inventory, where candidness can simply remove the assets from the warehouse, sell them, and adjust the inventory records. A reconciliation between the physical inventory on hand and the records would indicate no discrepancies. Okay, segregation of duties is huge. Big key to preventing fraud. Even if you have great controls in place, if you have one person responsible for all of the controls, they can take advantage of that fact, and the control wouldn't catch the fraud. Okay, other items. Exam this week. Don't procrastinate. Last week I did provide a live session that I went through the questions in detail, so hopefully you are ready for the exam. Hopefully it goes well. Make sure you listen to that as many times as you like. Hit pause, take notes, do what you need to do to be ready for the exam. Please do take the exam early in the week. Every single time I teach the class, something comes up. Weather comes up. A proctor ends up being on vacation. A learning center is closed that should have been open. Work stuff comes up. Illnesses come up. Things have a way of popping up. So schedule early in case something does occur. Then you have a couple more days to reschedule if necessary. With that, please do not hesitate to ask any questions. I very much appreciate your time and your attendance. Thanks so much.